Hi, and welcome back. In the past weeks, we spent a few days visiting local museums about the mining industry here. One museum about what they used to make from the iron, and another one about the actual mining and smelting operation. It's always interesting to explore your local surroundings and learn about its history. But there was some work to do as well, of course. In a past storm, when there was lots of rain combined with heavy winds, we had a leak. It was difficult to pinpoint the source of the leak, but it seemed to come from somewhere around the chimney, so I decided to go up there and have a look. There was a spot in the roof that was covered with a loose patch, so I removed that and fixed the underlying seam between a pipe and the roof with sealing tape. I couldn't fully reach around the chimney, and due to my less than heroic attitude towards heights, I asked Natalie if she could apply the tape there. Furthermore, I already knew that the plates in the top of the roof had some loose nails and needed to be replaced with roofing screws. I tried doing this immediately, but the screws didn't reach the wood underneath, so I had to order new screws and fix this later. We did have some heavy rainfall again, around 50 millimeters in a single day. It made our stream a lot wider and more difficult to cross. The rain and subsequent increased water levels also washed away part of the road. Luckily, it's not a road we need to use daily, but it does serve as an access road to one or two neighbors, so they have to drive a longer way around for the coming days. But no leaks from the roof, although there wasn't as much wind as last time. The big project of the past 2 weeks has been the staircase. It had vinyl on the steps, and as most of the exposed wood in this part of the house had darkened and yellowed, making this already dark corner darker than it needs to be. So the plan is to take off the vinyl, sand all the wood of the staircase and treat it so that it preserves its new lighter color. After taking off the vinyl, there was a lot of glue that was left behind and needed removing. I tried doing this several ways, but manually scraping turned out to be the most efficient and gave the best results. Sanding it with a machine clogged up the sandpaper very quickly, and I also tried to use an electric chisel to carefully chisel away at the glue, but that was too unpredictable and damaged the wood too easily. So in the end, I scraped off all the steps by hand. Since this was very physically demanding, I did a few steps a day, so I could rest in between, but even then my shoulder, which is a bit of a weak spot anyway, started hurting quite badly. The vinyl was inlaid into the steps, so I also planed and chiseled away the edges so the steps were all even and flat. After most of the glue had been scraped off, it became time for the sanding. Many days of sanding. We had decided to finish the stairs with a wood stain and a transparent varnish to keep the natural wood look, but ensure it would become and remain bright and light. Not having worked with wood stain before, I had some expectations and assumptions that ended up making this harder for myself than necessary. I read the instructions on the labels and it said to apply, wipe off the excess and never apply a second layer. I assumed I needed to wait a while after applying it to wipe off the excess. I learned only after doing most of the stairs that wiping off the excess should be done almost immediately after application. My mistake caused the finish to be very patchy, which you can see here on the vertical parts up against the wall. I hope this could be fixed by carefully sanding the affected areas. This fixed most of it, but still left some areas that were noticeably uneven. Since applying a second coat would not fix the issue, we fixed the worst of it by hand sanding and considered for a while if this would be acceptable. We decided it would be, and if we didn't think so after a while we could always sand it again and paint it, but for now we did not have the energy and motivation to do that. So after some more elbow grease and some transparent varnish, this is the end result. I'm not entirely happy with it, but since it's a lot better than what it was, I'll come to be happy with it when the pain of the hard work will have disappeared to the back of my mind. And I did learn a lot, which is always worth the trouble anyway. The steps need one more coat of varnish and the handrail will follow after a while. The walls and the rest of the wood we will do when we tackle the hallway in its entirety. I don't know when that will be, but I prefer keeping projects small, so I always have a stopping point a few days away. If I feel fine after that, I can continue, and if not, I can move on to something else, or just rest for a few days. And how better to rest than taking the boys for a hike and swim while picking some cloudberries in the local forest.